Welcome to the Rustic Garden. Today I want to talk to you about making a very basic and simple tomato puree from the heirloom tomatoes you pick out of your garden. I'm picking tomatoes today, and you can see up top there I started collecting seeds. I do have a video, as I've mentioned before. It's called I believe it's called Collecting Tomato Seeds A through Z on my YouTube channel, but it shows you the whole process. Let me just show you some of the tomatoes. This is a Brandywine yellow, although it's orange. I actually had to go and just look it up to make sure that I didn't get seeds that said they were Brandywine yellows, and they weren't, but it looks like the Brandywine yellow variety can also have the orange color. But this gets to about 16 ounces. It's a flattened fruit. It does pretty well here. It's a better Brandywine in comparison to the red and the pink for disease resistance here in Maryland Zone 7. These are black plums. These are Brandywine reds, and you can see the heirloom fruit aren't necessarily the prettiest fruit, but they taste really good. And in the sense that a lot of the tomatoes don't have a lot of acidity, there's just a nice sweetness to them, and they make a great tomato puree. These are Homestead tomatoes. This is a Kentucky orange. This is an Aunt Ruby's German green, and this one back here, a little bit beat up, but that is a boxcar tomato. And when I collect the seeds, you're basically quartering up your tomatoes, you're pulling the seeds out, putting them into a bowl, and then they need to ferment. But you're left with all this flesh, and basically what I do is I cut off, the green and brown parts, put them into a pot, boil it for about 20 minutes, and then I use a hand mixer to puree it down. And I just want to show you what that process is, because it really does make a really good spaghetti sauce. It's great obviously for pasta. You can dip breads into it. You can even almost make a cold soup out of it. You can turn it into a salad dressing if you want. It goes great on top of eggplant if you have eggplant in your garden, but it's a nice tomato puree that you make out of your heirlooms that is real easy to make, and it's quick. To make the puree, you're just going to add in your heirloom tomatoes. I'm going to add in some garlic from my garden. You can put in basil, you can put in oregano, the herbs you would tend to put in at the end. But to start it out, you're filling your pot with some olive oil, garlic, onions if you want to put in that, and the heirloom tomatoes. And basically, I collected seeds out of a bunch of my tomatoes, and so I'm left with really the meat of the tomato. There's not a lot of liquid, there's very few seeds left in here, and all you do is throw it into the pot. There's nothing fancy. Put in your tomatoes. It's just a pot of tomatoes. You're going to let that start to boil. Smash it down and let it cook, I don't know, 15-20 minutes until a lot of liquid comes out of the tomatoes and until they're heated through and warm. You're also going to add in salt and pepper right now. And in about 15 or 20 minutes, you're just going to use a hand blender, which I highly recommend that you get one. The cleanup of these stainless steel blenders is about 30 seconds, and we're going to make the puree right in the pot. The tomatoes have been cooking down for about 15 or 20 minutes. You can see all the liquid that's in there. The color looks great. The hand mixer, you just put it in. And I'm going to do the whole process here just to show you how quickly it gets done. And this is a puree. And there's a difference between a sauce and a puree. A sauce, a lot of times, you take the skin off. It cooks a whole lot longer. But the puree is just something I like because you can really have it done, in about an hour's time, start to finish. Alright, so that's all your garlic and your tomato blended up into the puree. You'll let this cook another 15 to 30 minutes, depending how thick you want it to be. You're just going to let some of the water boil out, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. The puree is reduced down for about 30 minutes, and you can see from this line up to here how much it's reduced. One thing to keep in mind is that you might have noticed that I salted and put some pepper in the tomatoes when I started. That's not the full amount of salt or pepper that I wanted. That was just to get it started. If you over season to taste when you start this process and then your puree reduces down, it will just get too salty. So at the point you want to take it off, which is about now, you want to taste it, salt it, add anything that you want into it now to taste. This way you don't end up with a salty mess on your stove. This whole process takes about an hour. You saw that the hand blender works really well. Just blended this up in about 30 seconds. And again, this puree is great for pasta sauce. It's great for covering up any fried green tomatoes or eggplants or anything along that line. You can even marinate chicken and fish in it. You can turn this into a salad dressing if you want to, and you can even make a cold soup stock out of it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out my blog at www.therustedgarden.blogspot.com and also check out my YouTube videos. Thanks.